Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. Hello, Natasha.
Hi, everybody. Hi, John.
We're live. Woo!
I know. What a beautiful experience.
Happy 2025 to everyone. It's such an honor to be here live and in person on our Mindful Leadership podcast. We took a bit of a break over the festive period, and it's so lovely to be back. And we were chatting, Natasha and I, like we were saying, oh, we should do something different. We've never gone live before doing this, so we thought let's just give it a go and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love it's like, let's see what happens and let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's subject is all about discovering your life purpose, and have some really cool ideas. You never really know with a live stream as well, like how it's going to pan out. But my suggestion is that we first, Natasha, talk about what is a life purpose. What does that mean to us? And then we could go on this adventure together with those in the live stream, which is sharing. I'm not sure how this is going to go. Sharing decades at a time. So our experiences of our life purpose, like lack of awareness, or explorations, or you might describe as big lessons we learned, so maybe things we didn't enjoy so much each decade. And if I'm really clever, I'll be able to update the banner as we go. I'm not sure I am, but I could definitely say in the chat. And verbally, I can definitely do it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, first of all, I'd love to hear, because I know you do a lot of work. In fact, I'm sure you've been doing it longer than me, helping people with their life purposes. So what is a life purpose, Natasha? Oh, I can't hear you anymore since you took those out of your ears. You're muted. I can unmute you.
That would be better. Yes.
Yay.
Thank you. No, it's just there was a lot of feedback, so I thought. So absolutely, it's one of the questions I get asked all the time is, who am I? Am I still on purpose? Am I in the right place? What am I doing? You know, kind of a thing. And it's so interesting because a lot of the times the answer that comes from the Akashic records is you're always on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to see things as kind of like purpose being kind of like this massive kind of like, I need to find my mission. And a lot of the times, yes, there is that. But mostly, if I were to reduce it to very plainly, is our purpose on this planet is to get to know who we are. And this is really a journey of getting to understand who we are in the world. And it's really getting to see, if we were to think of ourselves as a piece of a puzzle, is getting to really look at all sides of this one piece and seeing how we fit in. And even within that one piece, there's so many different dimensions of that. But the most beautiful thing is that piece is a unique piece. And I think a lot of the times we start going through our lives going, I want to be a corner piece because that is important, you know, and they're all important, because if you complete a puzzle and you're missing one piece, the puzzle is incomplete. So a lot of the times we are really looking at what is purpose in that sense. But the Akashic records usually ask us to find purpose in whatever it is that we're going through. And when, like you're saying, I love this suggestion of this exercise of connecting back to purpose at those times. And I'll talk about some of the experiences that I had, especially stepping into this realm of spirituality and looking at, okay, what is the purpose of this? You know, what is the purpose of having been through the last, you know, experiences? So yeah, we're always on purpose in one way or another. Whether we align to our highest potential, that is a different story. Whether we're following our joy, that is a different story. So I think we're always on purpose. Purpose is a windy road, but it's really aligning to our highest potential rather than stepping into our purpose, because we're always on purpose. So that is a bit of the information that I've been getting over the last few years. In that sense, is getting to know who we are, getting to love ourselves, getting to really radically accept who we are. All aspects, shadows, everything is important. So that's just a very... How have you found purpose, Jon, throughout?
Well, I would define life purpose as, to me, it is, if you believe in souls, for example, I do, that our souls often, not always, but every soul has its own free will choice. Often our souls are choosing to come here to grow, to just come here to Earth, be a human, do some stuff, grow. And within that, often there's, patterns from previous lives, which I also believe in. That there's patterns that your soul's like, I think I want to do this thing next. I think that's going to help me grow. In terms of that, would be more the soul purpose. In terms of our life purpose, and my experience with life purpose is like a choice in any given moment to answer the why. Why are you doing this? And I feel that the term life purpose is really helpful because it gives you a place to reflect on. Like you can go, I made a choice, either unconsciously or consciously. Does this feel like the right thing I'm doing right now? Does this feel on purpose? And I love what you say as well, because somewhat counter to that, or the kind of there's a word for this, and I've totally forgot what it is. The kind of what you don't expect is the fact that you're just always on purpose, because your soul's like, yeah, I didn't tell you this, Jon, but you're going to experience this trauma, and ta-da, on purpose. And you're like, what? I chose that. We need to have a chat, soul.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that. And in the chat, hello to everyone. I also asked the question what soul purpose meant to them. And St. Louis, Salsa Girl, hello. Thanks for joining. It says life purpose is to love, learn, help each other. And Carrie Channel, hello. She says life purpose is what you're meant to achieve. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, brilliant. And you're right that all these, so when I look at the soul's blueprint, it's almost kind of like when we are born, we choose certain themes that we're wanting to experience, right? Which is why we choose our lineage. So we choose our parents for all the awesomeness and all the not so awesomeness that they are, in order to learn and to expand. And these are the themes that we pick. And it goes further than just the lineage, like the country, the culture, all of this has a significance in our soul's blueprint. But our soul's blueprint, as you say, has every single possibility and probability of an outcome based on every single choice that we make at any given moment. So it's almost like we make a choice and all these plethora of opportunities show up for us, right? And then we make that next choice, and then all these plethora of opportunities show up for us in what we're wanting. And that's where the free will comes in, to support us in that. And I don't know who said this the other day. I was listening to an audiobook, and they said, when the ego suffers, the soul grows. And it's so true. And I was just like, that's such a great way to put in those themes that we've come to experience, and that growth that the soul has chosen, because it is who we get to know who we are through those experiences. And we learn more when we're going through those hard ones, but it's great, because I think as a collective consciousness, I think we're starting to learn a lot faster, and we're starting to step into purpose. And we're starting to realize that it doesn't have to be that difficult, and that we are actually we give life meaning. So all those filters that we are conditioned when we're younger and what we go through gives the life the meaning, the filter, the perspective, the perception to what we give to it. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm learning right now.
Fabulous. And one thing I think that's really important before I start asking you about, and us sharing our experiences about ages 0 to 10, like our experiences with discovering our life purpose, is also our life purpose is just whatever we want it to be. And it's a funny feeling, right? Because you always, depending on your belief system, you might believe in a God or not, you might believe in a soul or not, you might believe in past lives or not, and all the variations in between. And it's really fascinating because sometimes I feel a bit like my soul stitched me up. Like this is like there is a lot of like what was I doing all those decades? And like you say, Natasha, I'm sure my soul's answer would be, John, you were on purpose. But at every moment, you still have the option to go, yeah, but I changed my mind.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to do something new now. This is my new purpose. I chose it.
Absolutely. And
So
all of that is written. All of that is
Mhm.
there, available to you always,
Mhm.
which is incredible.
Fabulous. So let's start with, I created a little banner. Let's see if this works. Oh, I'm so semi-professional. Okay, it's
Oh, while you're doing that, the lady from St. Louis says the first time someone told me that I chose my mother to protect her was just 5 years ago when I was planning, to self-delete, changed everything. Oh, that's amazing how that's come in for you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible.
Thank you.
We're all
And
interconnected.
Carrie Channel says, making babies happy by smiling at them as they went past in their pram, being around babies in general, and being sporty and reading. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Carrie Channel.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I
Wow.
still do that.
Yeah, me too. Babies see everything.
They do. Yeah.
I always feel like when a baby sees me, it's like, there's one.
There's
I'm like, what? What?
yeah.
Yeah, so you go first, Natasha. Tell us about your experiences of your life purpose. Any awareness of your life purpose or any explorations, age 0 to 10?
Yeah. So very interesting. Again. Okay.
So absolutely. So I started thinking about this when you had mentioned the question. And I think from 0 to 10, I had a lot of the themes that started kind of like being imprinted in my being. So I think a lot of the times we explore a lot of the trauma that happens at the beginning of the year. So my life's purpose, absolutely. So my parents got divorced when I was 9. So it created a lot of those themes that started to come in that sense of kind of like responsibility and taking things on. So when my parents got divorced, my mom, we lived in South Africa, and my mom didn't speak much English. So I actually took on that role of stepping in and doing all the translating, and it really like probably set in that responsibility at that age. And looking back now in hindsight, it's given me that responsibility, and it's actually helped me to understand the karma between my mother and I within that, and the soul contract. So kind of like Carrie is very much an intertwined kind of like family, kind of like not only family, but soul family. So my family have been kind of like been born in many lifetimes into the same themes. But the biggest influence in my spirituality was really my grandmother. And she started laying down a lot of the knowledge and wisdom that is the basis of my spirituality in these days. So it was very much an understanding of what is spirituality, looking at, what were the reasons, that this all came up or this all surfaced, which was very, very interesting, because I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my grandmother, and and I used to ask her all these things like, what happens to the soul if you commit suicide? And, like, why are my parents getting divorced? And my grandmother said something so profound to me in the sense that I think it was the first time that I started looking at soul contracts. And she said to me, you know what, Natasha, your mother's contract is really to take care of you and your brother. And your dad's contract was to have you too, but it was also to have another child and another family and allow passage onto this planet, onto this earth. And it made such sense to me at that time that it really started to bring in a lot of the work that I do today. So I really stepped deeper into the why. Why is this happening? And these kind of answers that my grandmother gave me would really kind of like make sense to me on a soul level rather than an academic, like, this is what happened, kind of a thing. So I think it started to ingrain a lot of that spiritual anchors in seeing it in practice, which was and it absolutely brought in that unit that we were closer, and it helped me step into that aspect of responsibility. And I think that was a lot of the purpose of the 1 to 10 was to really, we ingrain, that was one trauma, but it's we go through these traumas in order to then be of service to support people through them, because it creates a vibrational signature that attracts those that have been through the same themes. So I think that was one of the biggest ones that came in for me between 0 and 10. How about you, Jon?
Great question. Thank you for sharing. Wow. I feel like my answers are somewhat at a different level. I 0 to 10, my family was together. My younger brother was born just in the last couple of years of, like, when I was 8.5. We're a family unit. We moved around a bit around Scotland and England. I enjoyed singing. I enjoyed being outside and skateboarding or roller skating or I'd get up super early and go down to the beach and build little huts and just sit on the beach for hours until people woke up. It was just me and the seagulls for hours, which I think back to the 80s and I was like, and I think it was just like 81 or 82, I started doing that. It's like, wow, I'm not sure I would allow my kids to do that now, but it was wonderful. And especially growing up by the seaside. And I remember having a fascination with taking things apart and putting them back together. Like anything old, like a tape player or a stereo, I was fascinated by how things worked. And I liked inventing things, building things out of little electric motors and little games I'd take to school and stuff. Did I mention singing? Sang a lot. And and I had one or two like quite profound dreams that there was an inclination of something bigger than just Jon's life. I do remember very clearly age 6. It was almost like a kind of small awakening where I was stood staring at this beautiful view over the East Beach in North Berwick, where I grew up for a lot of my childhood. And I was staring and I was just thinking, I think I feel really happy. I think I feel like age 6 is an amazing age. And I was like, this epiphany. It's like, I'm grateful. I'm really happy. And it was a really interesting anchoring point. Like it felt like, a good time to be alive. Also, the world was so different looking back. I remember my brother wore the odd T-shirt that said like "Save the Whale," and our awareness of like the environment was very different. The environment itself was very different. And I think there was a general. It feels like back then there was more hope that somehow humanity would save themselves, just burn out the planet too fast. So yeah, that was my experiences. I have very early memories, like going back to just a few months old. I remember the front. A lot of it is because we moved house all the time, every 1 or 2 years. So I remember I could just locate it I just go, what house was that? And I remember the front. I remember crawling around, looking, I remember the front door, this must have been like 77 or 78. I was born in 76. And just seeing, I could draw the front door right now. I remember someone took a sledgehammer and knocked down our front wall out of anger. I don't think there's anything to do with us. They're just like, that's it. Here it goes. So there was some lively events as well. But yeah, that was me, 0 to 10.
That's amazing. I see you actually sitting on the beach, like building stuff, just you and a bunch of your guides, like having full-on conversations.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
All of your
For
guides,
years, yeah.
your friends from the other side. That's awesome.
Thanks. And hello to Tom, and Auntie's also joined us. Auntie says, trauma, zero, so this is 0 to 10, trauma purpose was to take care of adults who didn't have it really take care of themselves. And significant, more authentic interest in animal and nature conservation, seas and land wildlife. And Auntie says, the land wildlife also represented authenticity and natural freedom, which I feel I'd lost. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, wildlife, like now I'm more connected to nature than I've ever been, and I'm very grateful for that. So my early teens, from 10 to 20, I think we just survived teenagehood, I think, moving forward as well. I have 2 teenage daughters, so just with seeing what they're going through. But growing up in South Africa was quite different at that time as well. So I suppose, yeah, it was a lot of responsibility. But the awesome thing that I remember as my teens is that I was always fascinated with kind of like all the witchiness that came through at that time. So absolutely, completely open at that time, because my mom used to go to spiritual kind of like, in South Africa, there's quite a lot of spiritual gatherings, I suppose, like at a church or whatever. And there was always some sort of a development group that my mom was part of that we used to go to as well. Although that used to freak me out sometimes, especially in my later teens, because my mom's friends were all psychic. So sometimes when they'd come up to me and they'd like rub my back and be like, "How are you doing?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God, what can they see? Do they know what I've been up to?" Kind of those things. So yeah, I think I experimented. I went through a lot of phases. I went through a gothic phase. I went through a hippie phase. I went through a rock phase. I went through listening to live music, but I also went through, I suppose I started smoking at that time, and doing all sorts of kind of like really rebelling against, I suppose, the system. But at the same time, I started reading a lot of books on spirituality. I remember reading a lot of Lapsang Rampa books. And I remember that I have a cousin of mine and I were very, very close. And because I was reading a lot of books, I would be like reading a book on auras, and my cousin Roy would come and visit me because he's 10 years older than I am. He used to go to university close to where we lived, and he'd come in and I'd be like, "Okay, I've just learned this new technique. Sit." And we're going to stare at each other until we see each other's auras in our past lives. And luckily he was into all of this stuff. So there was a bit of I think I experimented a lot with different vibrational frequencies and a lot of things like that. So I think that started to really, really mark my, my continued on in that spiritual learning as well. But back then you didn't talk to many people about this stuff because they just thought they probably still think we're weird and odd and limited and all the rest of that.
But they're incarcerated less.
Exactly. So there was a lot of that went on. I also had 3 near-death experiences in that time as well. So I got hit by a car as a pedestrian. And that was quite profound, like as a kid, and I felt so awful. So that was another experience that I went through. And then a year after that, I almost drowned in the sea. And then shortly after, like my 18s as well, almost drowned again. But it was quite profound having gone back to those moments in time, how the agreements that we make, and perhaps that is for something else, but it's yeah. So I went through quite a few experiences in that, which kind of like started really, again, anchoring that spirituality, anchoring those traumas, that I think I'm supporting people with in these days as well. So it was really opening up to the good, the bad, the ugly, and just really seeing spirituality in a different form as well. And then finishing high school as well, and looking at, and that's when I got into my mom sent me off at that time, and she said, okay, go and do a business computing kind of like course. So I did an intensive kind of, back then we still used to use DOS, and like Windows 95 had just been coming out, all the rest of that. So that's where I started in kind of like my IT kind of like journey, and started really, leaving high school and stepping into that professional kind of space as well. But I was going out a lot at the same time. So yeah, that was
Wow.
yeah.
It's like a lifetime in that decade, right?
Absolutely.
It is quite funny because I was looking at our clock thinking, I suspect we're both going to spend more time on this decade than maybe any other. And it's such an incredible experience. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I also got I got knocked down twice. I got knocked down by my primary school teacher who no longer taught me at the time, and it was arguably my fault. Like I literally ran out in front of them as I was trying to keep up with my brother on the way home from school. And then, but I was fine. And then the second time I was on my bike and got knocked off a couple of years later. Again, I was fine, but it's really fascinating that those experiences happen. Oh, I don't know where to start with me. It's like the earlier years, I was doing a lot of sailing. I sailed for many years, right up until about into my late teens. My dad and I, although we're never like super close, we would sail lots together almost every weekend. So we'd sail around the Firth of Forth. We'd go out down a bit to England and up a bit further up the coast in Scotland. We also sailed in over on the west coast, and down in England. We moved house a lot of times in that decade. And there was experiences like, I think for me, my first few years, I felt fairly close in a family unit, and that I felt like, not that my life was mapped out, but there was less ambiguity than perhaps happened a bit later. So as soon as I got to about the age of 13, 14, I started to realize I always loved my brother's music, my big brother. And I was always into, and it was actually, I met my wife at 15 and a half.
That's
so
awesome.
It was like, and she was into heavy metal at the time, which my kids find so funny now. So those influences, like, it was grunge and there was metal. And then I've always had like this epiphany for like meditation music, and like the Orb, I still listen to a lot, especially when I'm working. And in terms of my, my confidence was low, and it was only until about age 15 I'd had a couple of summer jobs and things which had started to pick up. I felt like I'd struggled a bit at school, and my grades weren't great, and I felt like quite, I guess, inadequate. And I felt that, I mean, when I was much in the previous decade, I'd do things like write everything backwards, or I found it really hard to spell. I'm not sure I would be in any way diagnosed with anything, but other than I'd struggled quite a lot. I'm like, with a low confidence, I just felt like it took me until about the age of, I remember vividly working in a kitchen in the summer, and one of my colleagues saying, "Why don't you go to university?" So I just said, I'm not good enough for that. Like, I don't think I'm clever enough. And they're like, you're so bright. Why didn't you just go? And I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could. My parents divorced around that age as well. So just after I met my wife, my parents divorced, and my dad moved out and moved over to the other side of Scotland. And we'd also moved down south for about, down near Manchester for about a year and a half, and come back up to the same town. And that caused a lot of disruption. And then, I don't know, so many things. I think the one of the other big things that stuck out for me was my mum had experimented with a couple of things, and one thing she did was like a kind of I think she was doing Reiki on me. She was
Yeah.
just learning it. She'd only done it a couple of times. And when that experience happened, I remember, first of all, not having any real spiritual beliefs at all. Like, not skeptical, just like, it's just like, maybe it's true. I don't know. And I remember sat there age 17 at home, and I just remember this big like column of what I now know to be like source light energy, like pouring down through me. And it was intense. Just that experience was so intense. It was so palpable, so real. And then also I felt the like I describe it as like seeing faces in orbs. And I saw loads of those, and then I saw a sword and a stone, which still echoes through the decades. And so that was profound. I also, towards the end, had gone to university, and had experienced, my fair share of what are in some countries legal and in ours non-legal drugs, and realized that was also like, I didn't know it then, but I was also working through some traumas from within our family, and that was like, I didn't know that until I was into my 20s. But yeah, it was definitely a very pivotal decade. And it's like every year, like you don't know it at that time, right? But every year something revolutionary happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, I also started working in when I was like 16 as well. But it was quite interesting in that sense, because my confidence at that time, now that you speak of it, I was quite confident in the sense of like, I was one kind of like minded in that sense of like, I can only achieve, right? Like it has to be. So I think I spent quite a bit of my teens in that sense, quite confident. It was later on that I started to lose my confidence, which is quite interesting, because like, I mean, I did quite a lot of equestrian, and even doing it at a short time, I managed to get some prizes. And I think my mom always taught me that you can get, you get whatever you set your mind to. And that was like, and it was survival. Growing up in South Africa, especially, kind of like, yeah, there's a lot that was happening politically as well. And it was like real dangers. So yeah, it's quite interesting having listened to you. And I also experimented with some drugs, because I was like, I need to know what this is all about. And I used to go to a lot of music festivals as well at that time. So yeah, no, it's interesting how we get involved in different things and we don't realize why we're having these experiences, right? So yeah, no, it's absolutely beautiful.
I remember making this this life-changing decision age 15 or 16, and I was like, everything was like last minute at school, and I was like, oh, and it's just my friends were saying, you've got to submit your form today to join university. I was like, I do. And so I went into the library, and it's like filling out this paper form. And it's like, oh, I wonder what I'll do with my life. Like, it was literally like a small 5-minute to do list task. Like, oh, maybe my life purpose is to go into computing, and it's literally it. So it's like, I quite like computers, and that was it. And I just applied to these 2 universities, and knew my wife was going to one of them, and it's like, just see what happens. Sharing what people are saying in the chat. So sent El Salsa Girl. When I was 13 in middle of history class, I received a message that I was to be a teacher. I achieved that and did it for 20 years. Not sure what is next, though. Oh, fabulous. Thanks for sharing. Kerry says, I used to cry for people in Africa and India, not sure why, except I felt their suffering. A bit unusual, I know. I definitely feel you. And to this day, thank you. And Sentinel Salsa Girl says, oh, this is a response to another comment. Tom says, up to age 10, I was so sensitive, and my mother did not know how to deal with it. But I always questioned hate about others with different religions, skin colors, etc. Fabulous, Tom. Thank you. And Tom also says, student harassment at school about being gay, something I did not know what it was. So my sensitivities were buried. I thank you for
Yeah.
sharing and just holding space for your journey, Tom. That's definitely a tough journey. Hello to Gypsy JJ. And Auntie says 10 to 20 was a decade of avoidance and keeping my family together. Happy states were when I dared to be visible and center of attention, socially happy and magnetic. Oh, I love that. And I still liked biology and had my first experience being taken seriously as a student around it. Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh, thank you all for sharing. Yeah, sorry you went through all of that, Tom. It's brutal. Yeah, so I can see purpose like, yeah. So what are we, 20s to 30s?
Yeah,
That was when I was like, well, 20s to 30s was, I think it was the best decade in my life. It was when I had finished school, I had done my computing course, and at 21, I was like, I always had this notion that South Africa was third world. I want to go to Europe. I want to go and learn. I want to go meet my dad's side of the family. I want to go learn about my Portuguese roots. I want to know all of that, but I want to go travel the world and see the world. Being a fellow Sagittarian, you will know about all that traveling and discovering, and I loved cultures. I'd always been fascinated by who are people, why do they do what they do, their religious beliefs, and all the rest of that. So, so absolutely. 21, I was like, I used to work for an import-export company, and I had been there for 2-3 years. It was a great company. I'd learned so much. I mean, a lot of the boss's knowledge and wisdom I still use today. So I've been very, I'm so grateful for the different places that I've worked, because they've always been really marked who I am. But again, we call in these people, which is beautiful. But I was like, I'm going to go travel the world. I'm going to go and see it. I'm going to go Europe. The UK is first world. I'm going to learn about how things are done in the world. You know, this is where I'm going. So I ended up in London, didn't like London too much. I felt very, very claustrophobic. And I was like, I'm not going home. I've still got like so much to explore. And I actually got proposed to. I was dating this guy who actually liked me in primary school before I came traveling. And we were like calling it quits. You know, I'm going to go travel and all the rest of that. And then I met up with him later on in that first year of me coming, and he proposed. And I was like, no, I can't do that right now. I need to go and discover who I am, discover the world, and see what is going on in this life or this planet or whatever it is. So I did quite a lot of traveling. So didn't like London. I had a friend that was up in Edinburgh, and I absolutely fell in love with Edinburgh, but the adjustment was quite hard for me. So what I did was what I do best. I threw myself into work. So I used to work 3 jobs at a time. Absolutely loving it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to work my ass off for 3 months, and I'm going to go travel for 3 months. So that's what I did. I always had an office job. I had a pub job, and I had a nightclub job. And, you know, sleep was for the dead. Who needs to sleep when you're like 20? Like, you don't need it. Like, what the heck? Like, I don't need that. So off I went, and I did a lot of, like, I used to work and a lot. Like, I remember I had Thursday nights and Sundays off. And that's what I used to do. And obviously I couldn't sustain it. And that's where my pattern of burnout started to come through as well. And I was just like, can't do this. And then I ended up moving into an apartment. And this is how I got introduced to working for that IT company that we both worked for. Because I had one of my flatmates' friends was a salesperson, and they said, oh, well, we're looking for somebody that does sales and marketing. And because I'd been working in various offices, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the interview. I've got a small business computing course, don't know much about IT, but I'm going to go for it because I'm going to try everything almost once. And I remember leaving that interview thinking, oh my goodness, that is so embarrassing. I don't know anything. There's no way I got that. And I ended up getting the job. And it was such a huge learning curve. And there I realized doing sales and marketing that I didn't like cold calling. And that's why I was like, I'm not doing this. This isn't me. This isn't part of me. I know. And that's when I fell into kind of like that marketing aspect of my career. And then I remember saying to my boss, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to learn. At that time as well, I also met my life partner at that stage. And I had, you know, especially closer to the end is, I got married in my late 20s, and a birthed career in that side of the purpose. I birthed, got married and close to the 30s, reaching the end, 29, I was pregnant with my first daughter. So the purpose, I had put my spirituality on hold when I moved to the UK, because it was a decade one. The more, I always used to say, the more you know, the more rules there are to play by, because if you know better, you have to do better. So I was just like, and I want to discover, not that I was a big drinker, and no, even though I'd experimented with drugs when I was a little bit young, and it's not even kind of like a big thing. I was just like, no, I just wanted to experience life. And obviously went through quite a lot of relationships and things like that, but it was always that sense of something bigger is coming. And I absolutely loved what I did. I absolutely loved marketing. I also changed careers, changed jobs again in the IT industry. Absolutely loved it. Really started to realize my career, and I really, really loved that. So I found my purpose in not only realizing my career, but what was being a mom. So that started to come surface for me, and I had switched off my spirituality. I'm just going back. I got a little bit lost, because especially in my young 20s, I didn't have the spiritual support that I had in South Africa. So sometimes I would walk home and I'd pick up an attachment or an entity, and I didn't know how to deal with it without the support systems, and I'd phone home. And then I got to a stage where it was like, I don't want this. I am just like blocking my ears and closing my eyes and just going la 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 la. I don't want this anymore. So for that decade, I actually switched off a lot of stuff, even though in theory everything is there, the principles are there, the values are there, but I didn't do a lot of development. I think I was very, very stuck into that 3D, checking the boxes. This is what life is like. Career, family, check. Children, check. And that was it was the best decade because of the traveling and the experiencing and getting to know who I was on a different level. I got to meet my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
On my dad's side as well, which was a phone call when I was in Portugal. It's like saying, "Hi, Irene, I'm Natasha, your son Victor's daughter, and I'd love to meet you." So It was interesting. Yeah, no, it was an amazing experience.
Oh, wonderful. For me, my life purpose, I decided that I'd become Mr. Computer Guy, just do in career. I went really early into management. I think I was only like a developer for 3 or so years, and then I went into my first management job in the early 2000s, and I seemed really hungry for it. It seemed really, other managers really annoyed me. I think they always have. And I was like, I could do that. And I think some of that was like I started to develop a confidence in emotional intelligence. Even if I didn't think I was the best developer or, people manager in the world, I felt like actually I could navigate things maybe more smoothly than others. And you can tell in that statement there's a bit of competition. Like I felt like somehow I was competing against some other people or version of me. I don't really know. But yeah, I'd left university. I had my only kind of spiritual activity had been a somewhat incessant pursuit of reality, trying to understand reality through some of my exploration into drugs, and then just realized that wasn't really very healthy, and it didn't help me with much at all, but it didn't help me with my work. And after spending my summers doing resits in my degree and finally passing it, I was like, I just need to get into a job, and I just need to start earning money, and just for my wife and I started thinking about finding a place. We moved into Edinburgh. I started a series of jobs in computing. So it must have been, did we meet around then, or is either that decade or into the next?
I think I was 23 when I started working.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible how young I was, and I just remember the memories. It's funny because it's almost like I project 48-year-old John onto that young John, and I was just like this little kid. It's like, you're going to be a manager, you're going to like manage everyone.
I thought you were an amazing manager. Like, we went through some serious kind of like DDoS attacks and all sorts of stuff. There was just like, it was crazy times at that time. And I thought you reminded me of my uncle, that spirituality, that calmness, kind of a thing. So yeah, no, it was beautiful.
Always calm in a crisis. And other big events that happened were, I progressed my career quite far, including when we had met, and then beyond. We'd moved Dunbar, where we are now, and in our first home together, and we had our first birth. Unfortunately, we lost our first child just during birth, which was really traumatic, and it did affect us for a good couple of years. Like, it was a really dark time. But these experiences, there was still some magical moments within those time periods, and I remember other things happened as well. Like, I seemed to, in some respects, I felt, in terms of my life purpose, felt a little bit disenfranchised with the direction. I think that's some of the early warning signs of like, maybe there's more to life, but I didn't know and didn't have a super hunger yet. I do remember when, almost like weeks after YouTube was born, I started like hunting for UFOs. I was like, are they real? What's this? And I was like, typing away. And there was only like 100 videos or whatever on YouTube by then. But that was a journey 19 years ago that YouTube started.
Wow.
So yeah, there was definitely just a pattern of home building, building a family, and just seeing how happy this would start to make me. And I think it was, a pattern that many of us follow, because we think, oh, that's what they say. It's going to make you happy. Seems like a good purpose. And then just sharing some of the people in the chat have been saying. So I can't remember if I've read out Tom's already, but Tom had said at 15 I decided to be a music teacher. Later as an admin to help others, which I did for 33 years. And now I want to help others understanding their spiritual connection and awakenings. Fabulous. Thank you, Tom. Kerry Channel says 20 to 30, learning spiritual stuff, travel. Yay, travel. And Salsa Girl, who says Salsa Girl is fine. 20 to 30, I was all about students, making sure that they're fed, safe, felt loved. I worked with students with special needs, and also the Latin dances, salsas. Yay, that's wonderful. And rescuing animals, says Salsa Girl. And that's fabulous. So thank you so much for sharing, everyone. So let's go.
Thanks for sharing.
I can start to remember more vividly some of these years.
We haven't blocked them out.
Oh yeah, we should do this every 10 years, Natasha. We just add on to it. So age 30 to 40, what was your life purpose, explorations, discovery, experiences?
So I think, so at age 30, I had my daughter, my first child as well. And I'm so grateful because it reopened my spirituality. I remember sitting, because there was this moment of quiet where Steve had just left the room to give people a few calls. And I remember Lara was next to me, and I saw 2 rows on either side of my bed of beings. That in a long time. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, who is this child that they've given her such a beautiful send away, into this lifetime. So I had a bit of a moment, but now that I look back, it's where it started bringing in that spirituality aspect of it. And I had married a Canadian, and we decided that we were going to move to Canada because of the open spaces. And it was very much, actually, after I had my second child, we decided 2 years later that we were moving to Canada. And that was, and I was at the peak of my career as well at that time. So I was managing quite a few teams in Europe and all sorts of stuff. And I thought, it's okay. Well, we're going to move to Canada. It's going to be great. I've moved once before. I can move again, and it was kind of like I'd spent a lot of time with my family. It's time to be with, Steve's family and just experience something different. So off we went, and I moved to Canada, and I found it really hard to find work because the way we moved to was very much oil and gas experience. And it was a belief system that one needed oil and gas experience in order to market it. So it was very interesting in that sense that I ended up having to intern. And it was like, I'll do anything. Like, I can throw my hands at anything. So it was quite beautiful in the sense that it gave me that humbling experience of kind of like, it's okay, back to kind of like minimum wage as if you've just started a career. Meanwhile, I was drafting these beautiful kind of like business and marketing strategies, for my manager. But that was also the first time that I had experienced some kind of like workplace bullying. And that, for the first time, I was just kind of like started to become really, really stressed out. I didn't adapt as well as I thought I would. I think I adapted a lot easier to Scotland than I did when I first moved to Canada, which is surprising. But it was absolutely beautiful now that I look at it, because it really brought me to my knees in the sense of it really helped me get to my core in that sense. So finding that workplace bullying, and then also being at that space of burnout, it started to affect me physically. And I started to think, okay, I need to get back into my spirituality. What is this? The hands-on healing, the Reiki, all of that. I need to get back to my basic and to my core. And I was very fortunate, and I am so grateful to my partner at the time, because he actually allowed me to have those 2 years to really build in and do a lot of healing, because I said, I can foresee that if I don't do something now, my body's once more going to be like, time out. I'd already broken my leg. I'd already been through all of these things. And I thought, no. So I'm very, very grateful for that period of time. And then I just couldn't find myself going back to corporate. And somebody started saying to me, and I'd applied for a lot of jobs, a lot of them, like, I would absolutely fit into, like, no problem. And weird stuff started happening in the sense of, kind of like I said in one of the other podcasts, like a security member wouldn't announce that I was there, and then they thought I was late, for my appointment during their security change shifts and things like that. That was so bizarre. But somebody had said, you need to do this for other people. You need to start helping other people. And I was like, what? I was like, I've been in the spiritual closet all my life, and now you're telling me that I need to actually come out and actually say, hey, I'm here and I'm doing this as a business. So it was like, how am I going to charge people for this gift? And working through all those limitations at that time. And then I started to really pivot, and I thought, no, a new purpose was birthed. And looking back now, I am so grateful for that, because I was like so arrogant. I was like, oh, this is where my career has come to die. This is so unfair. It's so dramatic, kind of a thing. But it's where my career was really birthed. And the beautiful thing is the tools that I use to bring myself back, the affirmations, the gratitude, and everything, those processes, I realized I needed those. Because also hitting that pause in my spirituality to now going, okay, I'm ready to be spiritual and do this. I'm out of the spiritual closet. Can I have my gifts back? And my guides went, no, you need to work for them. And I was like, what? And that's why I found the Akashic Records, and the Akashic Records helped me to redevelop like a lot of the things that I was seeing. And I started to get, and then I thought, am I not? Do I need to commit myself? Like all the stuff that I was seeing, I was like, holy smokes. But then I started to trust that, and I started to help, and I started to work, and I started to really call in my tribe, and I really started to step into being of service in that way. And yeah, that in my 30s. So it's really, really, really it really birthed my new career.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you. If I divide it in half, so 30 to 35, we had two beautiful children, which is just fantastic. And they just brought so much joy, and especially when they're the kind of unicorn rainbows and Lego phases were just like, I just felt I was in my element. And in my career, that just continued. So it was like a push for me. I was like, I think I'm going to earn more money. I'm going to buy a bigger house and a bigger car and have a better job title. And I was just so hungry for that. It almost like I didn't know it at the time, but when I look back at it, I feel like there was a lack of clear purpose. So I'd chosen a purpose. In other words, this was the best thing I could think of. It's what I'd thought when I was like 16 or whatever. Just keep going, John. That's the plan. Keep going. There's a purpose. And so my career, like in my career, I did a couple of jobs as chief technical officer. So I kind of risen up to the top of smaller companies in Edinburgh, Scotland, and it's not the biggest city in the world, and it's not always full of like huge opportunities. There are banks and stuff, but which I had some experience in. But I just felt like I didn't, not that I'd hit the ceiling in Edinburgh by any means, but I knew that along the line of work I was doing, and I just didn't want to work for places where you manage your manager. That sickened me. And always has. It's like, stop being good at managing them. Look after your customers. And I always found it, I really aligned with places that obsessed about their customers. And I also tried the thing of like, do a hobby and work. So I'd been in a covers band. You may remember that from when I was at the same company as you. And almost every weekend I was out just as the kids were being born. Almost always sober, dancing on tables and bars, and it was a lot of fun. And then in the second half, I continued on my career, but I was like getting, what's the word? I guess it's greedy, right? I was like, I left a company managing 70 people, doing like a 70 people teams I'd built very fast, and I had a huge, support from the leadership there, and I left because I just wanted more money, and it wasn't even much more. I was kind of sick, and then I went into a job, and I think I went into this in a lot more detail in our last podcast, where I found myself like crying in the office, and I was like, this is terrible for me. Like how I was crying for like, I feel like I'd failed at that purpose, and that not only had I got really greedy, I now didn't know what I should be doing instead. And very briefly, I started for about 2 months. I started my own company, but I knew that I wasn't ready, and stopped it and closed it because I wasn't really sure what to do with it. Build something computery, and yeah, right up to just before 40, I was starting to question where all this was going. I had no spiritual practice. I drank a lot, and that seemed to largely stabilize me and allow me to function. But there was something inside of me, and I think it was that lack of clear purpose that was dying inside of me. It's like, John is not happy, and that was never going to be a sustainable life for me. So let me share and saying hello to some more of you who have joined us. Thank you for.
While you're doing that, I'm just going to take 1 moment, okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
It's
1
live.
minute.
Go for it. I'll read through this. Yeah, so thank you for sharing your experiences. Hello to Melody from Australia. And you were saying, do you sell shirts bearing your name and image? Yes. There is they're created by T-Mill. I just create the designs, and then you buy them through T-Mill. They are advertised on my YouTube channel, or often just under the YouTube videos themselves. Yeah, feel free to buy them. Thank you. And Salsigar was just saying that I love when former students find me and say hi and say what they're up to. That's really cool. And Melody also intrigued by your consistently vibrant energy and dogged commitment. And so, yeah, that's very kind. Thank you. And I always feel like there's an underlying theme in this, and maybe we'll connect more with this in the next decade that we connect with Natasha. Is the secret to infinite energy is infinite joy. And Andy says at age 43, I still have that sense that my purpose either hasn't started or I haven't chosen it. Fabulous. Okay, so we're not yet 300 years old. I have done this up to 300 with increasing with increasing ranges, so we're not here all day. But let's talk about 40 to 50.
Okay.
And I can't remember your exact age, Natasha, but I'm assuming it's over 40.
Well, I think we're born on the same day, which is pretty awesome. I think I was just born a year after you. Wow. So it's yeah. So yeah, my 40s were very, very interesting as well. So in the sense that, so launching a new career, really I started to look at, so it's quite interesting with regards to purpose. The question of purpose always started coming in. You're always on purpose. You're always on purpose. You're always on purpose. And I'm like, so what is like the last kind of like 15, 17 years of being in corporate and doing marketing have to do with my spirituality? And usually it's like, you don't go through anything just to go through it, because there is some purpose to it. So what was the purpose of the two of them? And that's where I started to realize that businesses were just as spiritual. And I started looking at kind of like spirituality and business, spirituality and connecting into all the other aspects of our lives. I birthed the octopus method with a friend of mine, Kellyanne Vass. So that came in where we started looking at spirituality and coaching. I started looking deeper into what is my purpose? Why am I here? You know, kind of like really trying to define, why am I here? And I think I'm still trying to constantly defining or redefining as we move forward. My marriage also dissolved as well, very, very amicably. And I found myself being pulled to move back to the UK. Which was quite interesting. And so I got I moved across the pond back to Edinburgh, to where my daughters were born, with the girls, my mom, and 2 chocolate labs. And then I got here and I was like, oh, I don't know what the temperature of spirituality is here, because when I was in Calgary, I managed to get an office. I used to share an office with an amazing acupuncturist. And I really started to, I think, become known in spirituality, especially within Calgary and within the Akashic Records. I started teaching, which I never thought I would. And yeah, so I found myself moving back to the UK. And I've been back for probably the last 3 years. Well, it is the last 3 years. Will be 3 years now in August. And found myself looking at, okay, so what is the temperature of spirituality in Scotland? And that's when I was like, because I had been seeing your videos and I'm like, oh my God, Jon's also doing this stuff and it's so cool. And then that's when I thought, let me reach out to Jon and see, okay, what is the temperature of spirituality here? And I started trying to find a base, but I was very, very grateful because I still had a lot of my Canadian and my American clients that I am supporting. So it really is about redefining myself, and it's a constant learning. I'm trying to simplify my life as well, especially since I'm trying to bring in, well, not trying, I am bringing in a balance between, you know, my home life and my spiritual life, and knowing that they're one in each other. So looking at that and how can I do more with less? And yeah, it's at the moment I'm redefining what it means to be of service and what it means. My word for this year is authenticity. So I am digging through those layers even deeper to find out, okay, who is Natasha? And it's the other thing is I've just started changing my name back to what it was. So the vibrational frequency is quite different. And it's really, so yeah, I'm being back to being a Rocha and looking at all that ancestral work that I've been doing and really looking at, okay, I want to focus, so I am focusing on Akashic Records, ancestral, and working with Saint Germain, because I think there's a lot of those perimeters that I was trying to be too many things to too many people, and I'm like, no, I am comfortable in this Akashic lane. It opens up so much for me, and I absolutely love it. But it's how can I be more of service? I'm stepping into that further out of the spiritual closet, I suppose. So I'm very grateful for our reconnection and for this podcast and for the work that we've been doing and are about to do as well, because it's amazing how it's come full circle in that sense, which is beautiful.
Oh, lovely. It reminds, like, a lot of the energy you describe reminds me of how you're describing your 10 to 20.
Yeah.
And like it's a lot. It's a huge changes, and just that excitement energy. It gave me I had a flashback of when I not the first time I met you, but like one of our interactions, and it must have been in my 20s, and I just remember you're like in a loading bay and you've been away on some marketing thing, you were dropping off some equipment, and I just like you were chatting, and I think I was just doing small talk, and you're like, and we did this and we did that, and it was almost like you hadn't slept much, but you traveled really far and you'd done all these things, and I was just like, whoa, like I remember Natasha's full of energy, it's incredible, and there's just something very, very lovely and very endearing about you, and it's like, wow, there's a person, and I could see why everyone like always spoke highly of you. It's like, yeah, there's Natasha, who's going to go and see her, going to go and help her? I'll go.
Thank you.
That was really lovely. Yeah, it all changed for me, and so age 40, it's just 11 a.m. I love that. Thank you, angels and guides. And it's just like age 40. So here, like literally, I'd been drinking on a Friday night, which was common because I'd been drinking practically every night. I've been doing some music that week with some friends in a local pub, and I haven't really spoken about my 20s and 30s. And age 40, I just joined a big corporate. You'll know them as Amazon, and I was starting that career or kind of in that next phase for I was there for 8 years, and this Saturday morning I went for like a meditation with my friend who also did music, which said, oh, you should come along, you should try, like me and my friend are doing this thing. She was doing a sound bath, and then her friend was doing this like Kundalini yoga meditation. And I was like, sounds good. And I do remember being still a little bit hungover, even though it was like 10 or 11 a.m. And that just changed my life. It was like I meditated properly for the first time. When I closed my eyes, very quickly, I was seeing the birthing of planets and stars, and the energy flowing between them. And literally my mind was melting. I was like, I do not understand. I do not how to integrate this experience, other than I'm really glad people were there, because I could just do what John does best in his integration, just talk a lot at people and look at their faces and go, I wonder what they think. And took that decision there to start meditating every day. I asked the teacher, can you do it every day? Is it safe to do it every day? He says, yes, do it every day. And so I did. And I still keep in touch with her every now and again. I said, look what you did.
You did this to me.
Yeah. Which she always laughs about. And that started what started as an undercurrent, so you can't meditate. But I couldn't meditate very easily with drinking alcohol, so that stopped quite quickly. And I started to realize the energy, the frequency of it was not good for me. It was very low. I also realized that I needed to create time. And I think that's when I properly started getting up. I'd varied my start times. I've always been an early bird, but I started getting up at 5 a.m. It's like, get up before the rest of the family wake up, do the things you love so that they always happen. And that became an everyday thing. And song, I started asking my, a lot of this, I started asking my spirit guides. I'd heard of those. What's a spirit guide? It sounds like, they sound amazing. I'm sure I've seen them in movies, like people like Homer Simpson, when he's lost in Alaska or whatever, talks to this woman. It's like a shaman guide, and it's like, wow, this is so cool. I wonder if I have them. I wonder what they're like, and started asking to speak to them and ask for messages. Still do that every day since. So yeah, on the music side, wrote a lot of songs, over 2,500. I meditated exactly the same amount of time, a little bit more because I'd take the odd day off music, and my life started to change. I started to realize okay, there is more of a life's purpose. And I remember, so this was, I guess, thinking back, I've only made 2 decisions about life purpose, maybe 2.5. The first, just going into computing, see how it goes, John, when I was 16. And then now it's been like, this was just about 2017, 2018. I remember realizing that, because a lot of people tell me, oh, John, you're so tenacious. Like, you just like, even when people disagree, you're like, people would sometimes call me like a glacier. It's just like, it's just like this ice sheet gradually moving across, reality and shifting it as I go. Yep. Even though a lot of the time I'd be frustrated and I didn't really know my true power. It was just like, I think I can change it. Just keep going, John. Just keep doing it every day. So I remember thinking, well, if I focus that purpose, it will allow me to succeed at whatever I do. And I also won't end up doing, I learned this from my corporate jobs, like I wouldn't end up doing the wrong thing. I wouldn't, seek fame or fortune. Like, I'd choose something that was truly rewarding. So I'd only just met them, but asked my spirit guides, and they said, and I asked this over multiple days because they kept asking, unlike the 5-minute decision when I was 16, when I was in my early 40s, I just spoke to my guides every few days, and they just kept saying the same thing. And it's the name of your channel, Raising Vibes.
Right, yeah.
And it's on my, I'm not going to stand up. It's on my t-shirt too. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what kind of a life purpose is that? And I just didn't get it. I didn't get it. Other than I started to integrate it and realize, I think for me, that means that it's making people happy.
Yeah.
Great. I think I can do that. Let's make people happy. Let's make lots of people happy. And you'd often hear me say things like raising the vibes of billions of hearts. And it's still part of my mission today. Forward wind, the 8 years I had at Amazon, the last 2 years I'd gone part-time because I realized there's a shift, John. There's another big choice. So I guess I went from, a 5-minute decision to a few days to then, I need to maybe spend as long as what felt like somewhere between a year and 2 years making like a decision about my career. And it wasn't until I went meditation teacher training, because my wife was she's incredibly grounded, and she said, do something, like explore something, try it out, get a qualification, something, to try it and see what you enjoy. Because I knew I wanted to do more than just be in this lovely little music studio and just focus on online work, because I would just stay here happily for the rest of my life. In my own little misery, like a little prison cell. I know, literally, I've got padding on the walls now as well. So I explored that, and mindfulness meditation helped me come out of all the things that helped me do. Other than I really enjoyed the experience and enjoyed the class, was it helped me come out as a psychic. I was like, I kept crying in every meditation. It's like, Jon Binnie, and I think I'm psychic. I don't even know what that means. And it was just like, I think it's real. And because for a few years I've been doing just doing a couple of sessions for people each week, and that seemed like learning on the job. Like, that seemed like a really good exploration to explore my life purpose. And then I'd also very quickly after meditation, like, it kind of overlapped as well, I started training in clinical reflexology. And so as we catch up more laterally, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. And a lot of this was also my family, because I'm still am the main wage earner. And although we've done things like downsize our house, you're saying this earlier, like simplifying, like, I'm busy emptying, you might be able to tell, emptying a lot out of my studio. Everything in my life has to, have a reason and purpose and add value, not just be clutter. And so on that journey, I was like, okay, I think I need to leave the corporate job, and I just need to go for it. And it took a lot of courage, because it doesn't, like, on paper, it doesn't make sense, right? You can't go to like a, Joe Average, if there's such a person, business coach, and say, that's a great plan. It's like, it's no plan at all. And I'm gonna like raise some vibes, and I've written some stuff about helping. I felt like drawn to help the planet. There's a lot of darkness, including the darkness in us, that needs balanced again, rebalanced with light. And it's like raising vibes is a big part of that, but it's like this balance that I want to help planet Earth with. Whatever that balance is, I don't know what it looks like. It just needs to be better. We need to not be on a path to destroy ourselves. And so yeah, I'd left last May, left my corporate job. He says, trying to say this quite quickly because I feel like I've said it a million times on this podcast. But left in May, started my own company. of one, and started just seeing how sessions would go, how training and all and this podcast we started summer, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And and now I do, like, on my continued exploration of my life purpose, because it just fascinates me so much, because I know it's been a journey for both of us. It's like getting in front of people. In fact, we were saying just before this podcast that we'd love to do it in person as well. I was asking the guys at Naked Revive if we could get some volunteers to come along as well.
Yeah.
Doing it in person would be great. And it feels like there's so much more to my purpose than I perhaps realized. But also whilst I feel like there's a global aspect where I can help, and I don't feel this is like unique to me, this is a decision for all of us. Like, you can absolutely help the world. You can help the universe. You can do huge things. There's nothing stopping you. Also consider what you want to do for yourself. Like, I'm still Jon Binnie. I'm still a father, a husband, and I still want to continue to do lots of travel and have lots of freedom and flexibility. And so those aspects are now, unlike when they were disconnected in my last job. Now in my new company, they're completely connected and intertwined. And I'll quite happily dial back that saving the world from to allow like a sustainable pace and a purpose where my abundance and my ability to not just burn out is fulfilled, and abundance in love and money and all aspects. A big decade so far. It's not finished yet.
So far, it's not even done yet for both of us. Yeah, no, and I think we're always on purpose. I think it shows that somewhere, somehow, we're always on purpose, which is pretty incredible. And I think now I've started to shift my mindset into the sense where I think subconsciously I called in purpose the first few decades. This decade and the ones to come, I think I'm consciously now creating that. Again, leaving some space for the universe to co-create, but it's no longer is it happening to me, but it's happening for me. And I'm looking at how is it happening for me right now. And it's I am so grateful for this journey, and for all the people that have supported me and that I've been able to walk beside on their journey. Because like with everything, we're always attracting what we need, what we require, what we're putting out there. So I'm starting to see things more from a space of gratitude, and let's see how it unfolds, and curiosity, in kind of like, oh, I wonder how it's going to unfold. So I've let go a lot of the how, and I'm just moving through that. So there's still a lot of patterning, a lot of conditioning that I'm releasing and redefining, but it's been a wonderful adventure, for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I still feel some of that conditioning to releasing. It's like I said to my daughter the other week, was doing my weekly reports, and we looked at each other's like, "What did you just say?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't have anyone to report to." Weekly newsletter. That's what I'm doing. Oh yeah, I just need to do that after lunch. I was going to say I had a really fun experience yesterday. So my first, and Natasha, it wasn't you. My first Swedish massage client. I'm still studying, about halfway through the course, and I love. It sounds funny to say it, but I love my attitude towards this, which is I have no idea. I had no idea if I ever wanted to like rub bodies for a living or be part of my living. I didn't know if I'd find it enjoyable. Often, people would say, "Oh, Jon, you have magic hands." Like, they always enjoy like an unstructured, naive massage from me. But then I started training in it, and I love the training. And you feel that excitement and magic, and you can't explain it. Like, I don't know why. It just is. Like, it just feels good. Like, how do I know I'm on purpose? Because it feels good. It feels joyful. Where is it all going? No idea. How's it going to happen? Don't know. What's the plan? There isn't a plan. Just the purpose to help people. And when I did my first session, yesterday, I was so nervous. I was setting up the room. I spent an hour and a half setting up this room. You've been in it, it's like quite small. There's not a lot you can do in an hour and a half. And it's like, what are you going to do? And how are you going to remember your moves and all these things? But that felt really good because it felt like it was excitement, not anxiety. And I wanted it to go really smoothly. And then it was fabulous, really fabulous experience. And I had a really lovely testimonial. And I just remember afterwards thinking, I think I really enjoy that too. I wonder how that's going to factor in what I do. Doesn't matter. It just feels good, feels on purpose, feels on track. And also, and before I read out some of people's comments, thank you for everyone sharing. You get to choose, right? Because some of my clients will say to me, what's my purpose, John? And I'm like, I can tell you what your guides say, what your higher self says, even what your soul says. I can even go into the Akashic records and find out, where, like, what directions you're going, what lies ahead of you. But you still get to decide. And it's just like when I started with raising the vibrations, it's like, it's just so broad. Like, where do you start? And it's like, it doesn't matter where you start. Do start it and follow your joy. A bit like if you ever wonder why Natasha and I feel quite, our energy comes across as happy and joyful and like grateful. Like this energy is very much born from like a sustained pattern each day of saying, where's my joy? Does it feel joyful? If it's not, how do I make it simpler, or how do I get rid of it? How do I and it doesn't need to happen right there. It's just like, I'm handing in my notice, I'm running away, or we're divorced, or whatever. You just say, okay, I need to take action. Put aside some time, take some action on it. But you get to decide.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I say, purpose is a windy road. We decide which direction we're taking, how fast, how slow we move along it. But yeah, that conscious choice of being happy, being joyful, or following that. And it's not to bypass anything else, any traumas or anything. Like, we feel those feelings 100%, we move through them. And I've just gone through a phase of kind of like doing that shadow work. And it's kind of like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm back to feeling myself again in that space of like, what magic and miracles are going to show up for me today, and taking that one moment at a time, which is important. But you're right. It's that we feel it. It's what expands us. So like you were talking about massage, when I discovered craniosacral therapy, I was like, oh my God, how did I not know about this before? And I work a lot with it in the somatic aspect within the Akashic records and adapting it. And it's incredible. So follow your joy, absolutely, and your excitement, and to its nth degree is important, and without expectation or looking for that outcome, right? So I think we're so trained to look for that outcome, that what is the purpose, define it now, that it's almost kind of like it's following that joy and getting to know who we are in this world through these experiences.
Yeah, and other people's opinions. I think it's so funny. Like, some of the same people quite close to me in my life, like friends or relatives, have said things like, before I left my corporate job, because it's so easy for people to understand, right? It's just like, oh, he works in a corporate. That's what some people do, and that's it. And when I spoke about leaving, and they're like, some of the questions you get, like, is there any money in that? And like, I said, I think there is. Like, I know Natasha, like she does it as a job. and it's like, I think, and there's other people, I'm sure they like, it's a job for them. It's a real job. You can do it. And the rest is down to me. And I remember, like, since I've started this and things have gone really well beyond my wildest dreams, clearly not dreaming big enough. And I remember some of the same people say things like, you rub feet for a job, or you rub bodies. Like, oh, that's horrible. And it's like, it's okay. Like, you don't need to rub them. Like, in fact, you don't even need to have it. Like, I don't need to rub your feet. Everyone gets to choose. And I think that was also a thing for me, was like worrying about what people thought. And would it, would my kids get bullied at school? Would I live in a small town, would it just like spread like wildfire? Would I, have situations where I was having difficult conversations or arguments at, family and friends gatherings or whatever? But it's been way smoother. And if anything, it's, everyone picks up on other people's energies, regardless of how sensitive you are. Like we all feel it. And so if you're in a kind of weird mixed state, others pick it up as well, right? They're like, if my videos were like, "Hi, I'm John, I meditated and something magical happened," and that's all I said, they'd be like, "What's up with John? Like, why won't you tell us? what happened? Or don't make the video, like just decide." So yeah, that's been magical. Let me go through some of these comments. I'm just checking you're okay for time for a few more minutes, Natasha.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So thank you for everyone's comments, catching up on them. Salsa Girl says, in my 40s, the past year has been focused on my mum, getting her through treatment, ovarian cancer stage 4, now Alzheimer's diagnosis. So back to taking care of her. Oh, thank you so much for sharing and sending so much love to you and your mother. Carrie Channel says 40 to 50 is now. Feel like I'm pulling pieces of myself together to achieve goals and really taking more interest in world events. Spiritual stuff always going on. I would say I felt old after 40. I do this thing, I don't know if you noticed, Natasha, whereas I always project a few years ahead. So I just call myself 50 now. Like mentally, I'll say, John, you're 50. How do you feel now you're 50? And so when it happens, I'm just like, then I feel like I'm 50 for like 5, for like 10, 15 years. It's like, oh, that's
the other way.
Yeah. I'm 70. I'm just a young 70-year-old. And Michelle, you made it into work. -9 Fahrenheit. Wow, that's really cold. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius, but it is really cold, right? And then other people wish each other the best. Auntie says, in part, it seems that expecting an answer to questions of purpose can keep me stuck in mind, trying to figure something out. Where that line of questioning is a part of getting stuck. That's an amazing point, right? Like, I must admit, I would say my better decisions. I mean, I don't want to dismiss my career. Clearly, I did it for a reason in computing. I just don't fully understand all of it, all the dimensions of it yet. But what I do know is that the more recent bigger changes that I continue to make, just like doing Swedish massage yesterday for the first time with a client, is it just feels right. And that's also, I don't know about you, Natasha, like my business has no plan. Like there's nothing. Like I literally don't know what I'm doing in the next few months, other than maybe to frustration of 1 or 2 customers who are like, John, when are you doing the retreat in Philadelphia? When are you doing these other things? Like, and I just don't commit. I'm like, because I picked up more business than I expected, I'm just going to keep riding the wave and keep following what feels right in that moment, and not just for my business, but with my life and my family. How about you, Natasha? Do you have any plans ahead of you?
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting because I have a trip coming up in India very soon, and is quite interesting because it was just like I feel like I need to do it for spiritual development. And I was speaking to a very close friend of mine, and they were saying, but what is the return on investment, and what is this, and what is that? And I was like, whoa, I don't know. I just know I need to be there right now. I just know I need to do it. It's part of a shift that I'm feeling within me. And they're like, but have you worked out your costs? And I'm like, kinda, but I just know that I need to be there. It's like, it's just one of those things that are just like, it's an opening up. I just feel that there is a shift that's coming. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not even planning a lot of it, but there's this aspect of like a trust. So there's a little bit of working, and then there's a little bit of internal working, I suppose. And so it's like I'm looking forward to it to see, and there's no expectation. It's just I know that I need to be there, and that's it. That's
feels right. That's so cool.
Feels right.
You know, when you said the words working, the car horn went beep beep. It's like working. Hang on, but it feels like a Vision Quest. Vision Quest. I mean, I don't think I follow the traditional definition of Vision Quest, but that I did that just after I left my corporate job. I actually went back to the place that I could first remember living in the central Scotland, and spent days there in a camper van with my dog and explored the place and explored my childhood memories. And I realized that I was sorry, my dog's climbing around in various equipment behind me. But I realized that I was finding the version of me that had no programming, before I entered the machine. So yeah, that's real lovely, and I think that's just fantastic advice. Is just to follow what feels right. You'll know it because it feels so good. Tom
Yeah.
says 30 to 40, left a marriage and came out. Oh, congratulations, Tom! That's so wonderful. On coming out in terms of leaving your marriage. Sorry that happened, but totally understand, and it feels like a great growth for you. You said you did what you should have done 10 to 15 years earlier. I also started drinking 40 to 50, advocated for my students and others that need support. Thank you for sharing. And Tom says, many teachers said that they worked under someone like me. Seriously, I worked to support and not get in the way as I wanted as a teacher. Fabulous. And let me keep going down. Lots of other comments. Thank you for them. I'm just reading through them. I'm reading them all. I just not read them all out. And Tom says, my guides just told me don't look for validation. Validate for yourself.
That's
Ding,
good.
light bulb.
Yeah.
And I knew this, but I needed to knock on the head. And later, Michelle says, same here, John. I'm 49 years old. I'm feeling 50 already. 2 months to go. Happy birthday when it comes. And I'll have 26 years at this job. Grateful with this job. I can still focus on my spirituality. Oh, that's wonderful.
Beautiful.
Well, we kind of ran out of years, Natasha. I did. Let me do this. It'd be really funny. I did do this because I wrote them, so I'll just show them. Whoa, 50 to 26. That's wrong. 60 to 70, 70 to 300. What? For maybe this is you watching this back, Natasha, in the future, and you're like, oh, you remember we did that video and we went through the decades. What if you were looking back, perhaps age 70, or maybe it's 100, and you're looking back at your life? How have things gone?
Well, I think I'm still living my life's purpose, still not question anything and adapting to what's coming in. And I still see myself as being of service in a bigger way. And I think I'm looking back going, oh, I was so wee, like little like pat on the head. Who knows what's to come? But it was just like so much. I'm looking forward to the adventure. And I just take one day at a time. And how about yourself, John?
Oh, my life was amazing. Thank you. I'm still going to keep living on to into the hundreds, which when I was age 48, still struggled to get my head around. But I just keep being told it's happening, that our longevity is going to change, especially the more you follow your joy. And I remember that I no longer care about like the how or the detail, and just let go. And it just, everything's so much easier. Like I can eat ice cream on this roller coaster now.
Oh, I love that.
Without getting it all over my face or other people. I actually enjoy it. And it just all feels really good. I'm so glad I made this change. I still get to do some client sessions now and again. And I still enjoy like seeing videos like this. Hi, John, in the future. Hope it's all true, by the way. No pressure.
No pressure.
But yeah, just really blessed, really grateful, and seeing that now there was reason, there was purpose behind all of this, and that it didn't really matter what I chose as a life purpose, more that I chose in as many present moments as I could.
Beautiful. Love that. So wise, your older self.
Yeah, we're just so wise. Yeah, it is. Well, you know what? It's really funny. I was reflecting on this morning. Someone was saying to my clients in a client session, like, I'll just change some of the specifics, but it was like they were saying the other day, they're saying, how did you know, like when I was age 6, that those things happened in my life? And I thought for a moment, it's like, I didn't. In fact, I still don't know. All I did was ask like your spirit guide. And it's, I think in many respects, that was knowledge. And then wisdom, like being able to like actually have. The good news is it's knowledge and you're going to learn it, John. The bad news is you're going to have to do it for it to become wisdom. Like, oh, okay, that's why I get to do all these human things. And yeah, that definitely feels like a journey to, for example, the Hi It's John videos every morning.
Yeah.
It takes me the day, right, to like understand it, to integrate it, to feel into it. Like, what does it really mean, John? Like you just told a bunch of people a bunch of stuff that came in. Like, what are you gonna do about it, John? So yeah, I feel that's a big part of our journeys.
Beautiful.
Great. Shall we do? We always do a short meditation. Shall I do one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Before my dog Patch, I'm a little bit nervous because there's some paint in the corner. As I've been decorating white, as you can see, and so it maybe spilled over the carpet, or he's drinking it. Okay, so we will do a mindful meditation. So this is quite different to my others on my other live streams. And if you'd just like to join me, we're going to start with a deep breath in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out nice and loud. And again, breathe in through the nose, nice and deep. And breathe out any sad or low vibration feelings, nice and loud. Perhaps you'd like to join me in placing your hand on your heart for a moment. It doesn't matter which hand. And I'd like you to feel into your heart. Say hello to your heart. Hello, heart. Allow your heart to tell you how it feels right now. And if in any way your heart feels tightened or tensed or in any kind of fear, first see this and acknowledge this. And thank your heart for sharing this. And encourage your heart now to know that you are safe, you are loved, you are filled with your own self-love, and that it's okay at this time, in this safe space, in these few minutes of your day, to allow your heart to gently open. And you can join me in taking one more breath. And as you breathe in, just open up your heart more gently. Good. And we're going to ask just a couple of very simple questions of your heart. And I want you to focus on the feeling, not the words, not the things that your mind is telling you. I want you to listen to your heart directly. As you ask this question, heart, what fills me with the most joy? Good. And just in case for a moment you were lost, even just a little bit in your mind, I'd like to just ask your heart this clarifying question. How does that feel? And with your hand, hold that feeling in your heart. Catch it if you like it. Hold that joyous feeling in your heart. It's yours. It's that feeling that only you can give to yourself. And now, remembering back to the decades of your life, remembering before this life, if you believe it, remembering the echoes of the futures ahead of you, ask your heart this one last question. What is my life purpose? And as you allow this to come in, to receive this, focus on the feeling of that purpose. How does it make the rest of your body feel? How does your heart and then eventually your mind feel when you're doing those things that align right now and in the future with your purpose? I'd like to leave you with this practice and this gift and this exploration into your purpose. You can hold this feeling for as long as you wish. It is yours and yours alone. Everyone unique, everyone with the free will choices to change their minds and change their purpose whenever they wish. And this means you right now. And when you're ready, I invite you to come back to your body with a remembrance of this experience. You can open your eyes when you're ready. Oh, sorry, Natasha, I muted you. And I didn't cry. It was really, I don't know about your experience, Natasha, but mine was, I could see myself doing, like, helping a lot of people in the future, and it felt really amazing. And it was like, and John, remember, you balanced that with helping yourself. It's like, yes, I get it, I remember. And then there's like that last question about my purpose also felt like a big thing for me, is learning how to, once I've helped lots of people, to receive their gratitude, because I've not always been great at that.
Okay.
And what is a life purpose if you can't tell yourself at the end of it, hey, you did it. You did really well done. How about you?
Yeah, no, it was just a lot of being of service in a deeper level, on a deeper way. And there was a lot of freedom within it, in a sense of letting go further. And there was just so much joy, so much happiness. That's the core that I found, still feeling that way. That was amazing. Thank you, John. I love your meditations. They're absolutely.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
If only I knew it was all so simple. Just ask your heart. Have a chat.
Just ask your heart. Absolutely.
Literally. Wow. Oh, thank you. And thank you so much. Oh, there's one more comment to read out. Carrie says, "Wow, that was amazing. I saw the feelings in heart were from my karma. Life purpose was making music and grace."
Beautiful.
Oh, really beautiful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Natasha. We did it live. We did it.
We did it.
It's really funny because we always do these unedited, and good news, we don't need to edit this either.
I know.
And we get to chat with people too and ask you about your experiences. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming along and joining us. This will be shared across lots of different platforms, across Spotify and lots of different places. So please do check out the Mindful Leadership Podcast, which is a separate YouTube channel, which you'll also see me sharing links for on my channel. And follow Natasha if you don't already. Thank you for those that have joined us from Natasha's channel. We can see everyone's comments together in one place. And yeah, I guess good luck. I think I'll see you before you go to India.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
and yeah, best of luck, everyone, with your adventures and the upcoming planetary alignment as well on the 25th of January.
Beautiful. And we'll do one of these from India.
Yay. I'm
I
coming
think.
too.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, we'll bring you along. And
Just for
and
the
then
podcast.
exactly. So it was amazing having so many people, so many energies join us. Like I absolutely love doing this live. Thank you, John, for suggesting it. And yeah, no, wonderful.
My pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I'll
Okay.
end our live stream. Thank you, everyone. Take care and see you soon.
Bye, everybody.